In this video, we're going to go over the quiz that we had in 5.4 to 5.5 and see we're going to clear up some misunderstandings. And so let's go ahead and get right into the first problem. Okay, with the first problem, we need to compare. So that means we need to either write less than, greater than, or equal to. So let's compare angle PST to angle SPT. When you look at angle PST, the opposite side is 10, which is segment PT. When you look at angle SPT, the opposite side is 12, which is segment TS. So that means that angle PST is less than angle SPT. When we look at angle SQR, we see that the opposite side is 8, which is segment SR. When we look at angle QSR, the opposite side is 8, which is side QR, which means that triangle QSR is an isosceles triangle. So the two legs are the same, which means the base angles are the same. SQR and angle QSR are the base angles, so that means that they have to be equal. Angle PQS, well, the opposite side is 11, which is segment PS. Angle QPS, the opposite side is 7, which is QS. I'm sorry, if I said that PS was 7, I apologize. PS is 11 and QS is 7. Well, PS is the larger, so that means that angle PQS is the larger of the two angles. Now remember, with triangle QRS, if two sides of a triangle are the same measure, then the triangle is an isosceles triangle. This means that the base angles have to be the same. So what we should get for the middle one, for angle SQR and angle QSR, is an equality sign. Number 2, in triangle XYZ, angle X is 45 degrees. Angle Y is 30 degrees. What's the relationship between XY, which is a side, a segment, and YZ, which is a side, a segment? So I draw an example. I have angle X is 45 degrees, angle Y is 30 degrees. That means that angle Z would have to be 105 degrees. Well, XY is the opposite side to angle Z, and angle Z is the largest angle. So that means that XY has to be the largest side. So we conclude that XY is greater than YZ. And that right there is the relationship between segment XY and segment YZ. Remember, it's two letters, XY, so it's a segment, it's a side. It's not an angle. List the angles of triangle JKL in order from smallest to largest. So we have these three ordered pairs. So let's go ahead and graph the triangle. Okay, now that we've graphed our triangle, we need to find the side lengths for the whole triangle, which means we have to use the distance formula. That is a skill you have to know. You have to get that down if you don't have that yet. So what we do first is we find the distance from J to K using the distance formula. The distance from J to K turns out to be the square root of 149. Then I find the distance from J to L using the distance formula, and I get the square root of 160. So far, JL is the largest. Then I find the distance or the length of KL, which is 125. Now we can say which angles are the smallest and which one's the largest by going to the opposite angles from the sides. So the opposite angle from JL, which is the largest, is angle K. So angle K is the largest angle. The opposite angle from segment JK is angle L, so that's the middle angle. The opposite angle from segment KL is angle J, so that's the smallest angle. So that means that angle J must be less than angle L, and that has to be less than angle K. That's how we figure out how to order the angles from smallest to largest. Tell whether a triangle can have sides with the given lengths. Well, the sum of any two sides of a triangle must be larger, can't be equal, must be larger than the third side. So the first one is a yes, because 5 plus 6, those are the two smaller numbers. If they are larger than 7, which they are, then the answer is yes. Those can be the sides of a triangle. This one's a no, because 5 plus 8 is 13, and that's smaller than 14. This one's going to be a no also, because when you plug in x, 2 times 3 is 6, 3 times 3 plus 1 is 10, and then we get 20. 6 plus 10 is less than 20, that's not larger, so that's why it's a no. The length of the base of an isosceles triangle is 15 inches. What is the range of possible lengths for each leg? Notice I'm not given a picture, so I draw one. Here's an isosceles triangle. The base is 15, and since it's isosceles, the other two sides I'll just call x. Now, because the sum of any two sides must be larger than the third side, I know that x plus x must be larger than 15. Using algebra, 2x now has to be larger than 15, and then by simplification, x has to be larger than 7.5. And so this tells me that the remaining side, the range of possibilities, as long as x is greater than 7.5, we're okay. The lengths of two sides of a triangle are 3 feet and 5 feet. Which could be the lengths of the third side? We know immediately that B cannot be the answer, because 3 plus 5 is equal to 8, and it has to be larger than 8. Now, since B doesn't work, neither does C or D, because those numbers are just larger. So, that means that the only answer to this is A. 3 plus 3 is 6, and that's greater than 5. So yes, that one is true. Use indirect reasoning to show that two supplementary angles cannot both be obtuse. The goal here is to use indirect reasoning. So if you tried to use another form of reasoning, you didn't get any points because you didn't follow the goal of the question. So we must begin by assuming the opposite of what we're given. So we assume that two angles, we could have these in a triangle if we wanted, two angles are obtuse and supplementary. So that means that angle A and angle B are greater than 90. Now, if you give me an example, if you said that A was 100 and B was 91, that's perfectly fine to a degree, because that just shows me that it's true for that case. But you have to show me that it's true for all cases, and there are just too many possibilities for angle A and B. So all that we say here is that angle A and B are both greater than 90. Well, if that's the case, then angle A plus angle B must be larger than 180. But that's a contradiction of the definition of supplementary angles. You see, they have to add up to 180 degrees. Therefore, we can conclude that two supplementary angles cannot be both obtuse at the same time. Just to remember, the definition of being obtuse means that you're larger, the angle is larger than 90 degrees. And another thing that I want to clarify too, 91 is an obtuse angle, 91 degrees. But that doesn't mean that an angle has to start at 91. You could also have 90.5 degrees. So don't fall into the integer trap and assume that, okay, well, if it's an obtuse angle, then the smallest it can be is 91. Well, that's not true. It could also be 90.5 or 90.2 or 90.001. Those numbers are legitimately greater than 90. They're just not integers. So don't fall into the integer trap. 8. Find the mid-segments of triangle JKL from question 3. Label the midpoint between J and K to be X, and label the midpoint from K to L to be Y. What is the length of XY? what segment is xy parallel to? So what we do is we regraph the triangle from question number 3. We find the midpoints. The midpoint of JK is located at -5, -0.5. Remember, to find the midpoint, all you have to do is to average the x values and average the y values. The midpoint of JL is -4, -6, and the midpoint of KL is 1, -2.5. Now we connect all the midpoints and we get a triangle within a triangle. Label the sides just the way the instructions are telling us to. X is between K and L. X is between J and K. Y is between K and L, and Z is between J and L. So the first question now we're asking here is, what is the length of XY? Since XY is the mid-segment of JL, that means, since we found the distance of JL in question 3, we got 160, and that reduces to 4 square roots of 10. The mid-segment is half as much, so that means that the length of x to y is 2 square roots of 10, which is approximately 6.32. Last question, what segment is xy parallel to? Well, xy is parallel to segment JL. And that finishes off question 8. And that is the quiz, so make sure that you go over this, you understand each question, how it's asked, and also the way that I've shown you right here in this video presentation is the way I want you to be writing. I'm not looking for just short, straight numbers, because I need to see the work. I need to see how you're getting those numbers. You absolutely have to know the distance formula. You've got to get that mastered. So if you're struggling with the distance formula, you need to get with me during period 8, after school, some way, somehow, find a tutor. You've got to know the distance formula, okay? Keep pressing on and study as best as you can, and that's all you can do, all right? God bless you, wherever you are today.